What's up, IGN? Brian here with Jeremy Blum, and we're playing some Insurgency on PC. Jeremy, this is the multiplayer mode, correct?
Yeah, this is one of our game modes called Push that we're playing right now.
Okay. So just to give everyone a heads up in case they want to see something else, we're gonna do co-op modes later. So we're gonna have 2 walkthroughs, and right now we're just gonna start on multiplayer. So what is this map called?
This map is called Heights. It takes place in Afghanistan. It's one of our Afghanistan maps.
Okay. And so Insurgency was a mod that came out in 2007?
Yeah, it originally came out in 2007. Won ModDB Mod of the Year that year.
Okay.
We had worked on it for about, I want to say like 3 or 4 years before we released it. There was a bunch of us that worked on that project. I personally was the project lead on it.
You were the project lead on the Insurgency
On the mod, yeah.
Okay, and then, so just to kind of get some context here for people who might not know what it is or might be interested, how many people on that original mod team are now at New World developing this full game, this full release?
Throughout the course of development, there's been a bunch of us. I would say there's probably about 6 of us now that were a part of the original mod team, including the original founder and creator, myself. One of the lead level designers on the project, the guy that made the music is on the project, as well as other level designers, and yeah, we have a bunch of the original guys on this team.
Okay, and do you say 6 people?
From the mod, yeah.
Okay. How big is the team overall then?
Our entire team is about 12 of us, but it's an independent, smaller team. Some of these people have other jobs, and so we pretty much have like a core team, I want to say, of like a half dozen, but there's about 12 of us total that are working on the project.
That's a pretty small team for such an ambitious project.
Yeah, we're multitasking. A bunch of us are doing many different things. Personally, I'm running the project. I'm also programming and doing game design and animation, and we're all sort of in that position where we kind of all have to fill multiple shoes in order to make this.
So your actual title is lead designer, but you kind of do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, my actual title is founder and game director. Okay. So yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about this multiplayer mode. You said it's called Push?
Yeah, so this is actually the mode that was in the mod. This is like the popular mode from the mod that we ported over to the game. So we actually have a bunch of other original modes as well, such as Skirmish, which I think that's more of our unique mode in this game that wasn't in the mod. But that mode isn't being played currently on the servers, so...
Okay. And this is early access for people who have pre-ordered the game, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
On Steam? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so the goal of this mode is there's 3 objectives. It's kind of like Russian Battlefield, except you don't destroy those things that you destroy in that. It's a capture point based mode where first we need to secure A, and then if we secure A, we get more waves and more time to secure B.
Okay, so is this like right now one team is defending and one team is trying to capture, or is
exactly,
it like...
that's what it is.
Okay.
I'm on the attacking team right now, which is
so
the Insurgents.
All 3 of them, you win.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think the thing that we kind of want to convey to people about this game is that Insurgency is basically what our goal is to create like the most intense and gritty firefight that you can experience in any shooter.
I've noticed that people die very quickly in this.
Yes, people die very quickly. There's very realistic weapon mechanics. We don't necessarily pride ourselves as being a quote-unquote realism game, because there's a lot of connotations that implies that we don't want people to get the wrong impression. Ultimately, we are concerned primarily with gameplay and making sure that we have a really fun experience here, but we do have a lot of realistic elements in the game, such as the way the weapons handle with the free aim, no crosshair, the way the bullets are very lethal.
I did notice the no crosshair, because in so many shooters you have the crosshair and then you have the marks for when you hit somebody. It lights up and it gives you an indicator. It's none of that here.
Yeah, and when you go down, we don't have kill cams. We don't tell you who killed you or anything like that. Friendly fire is on by default.
Oh,
so
wow.
by all means, it's a hardcore game. If you're into hardcore shooters, this game is definitely for you. It's not as large scale as a game like Red Orchestra or Arma, but I like to think of it as sort of it's got like the Red Orchestra feel to it, but it's got more of a scale, more parallel with like Dave Defeat. For people familiar with Dave Defeat.
I did play that.
Which I played a lot of, obviously, growing up. And, that's a big influence on this game. You know, a lot of Rainbow Six elements in this game. It's very tactical. And we also have a co-op mode that I'm going to be showing you guys as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. I'm also seeing, especially at the beginning there when you're all running, there's a lot of people on your team. What size of like versus are we looking at here? Is that like 10v10 or something?
I think this is 16 versus 16.
Okay.
So it's like a full server of PvP right now.
That's pretty large.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good size. I think that the gameplay is a little better on 24 or something because it's a little more personal. Mm-hmm. It can get a little bit chaotic with this amount of players, and a little bit more is out of your control. But if you're into that intense, you know, sort of environment, then, you know, full server is definitely for you.
Absolutely. And so there's, you know, no kill streaks, no vehicles, none of that. This is just like straight up hardcore shooting, right?
Yes, yeah. Pretty much. It's the focus is on the firefight and on the objectives and on the teamwork. We actually have 3D VoIP disabled right now.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. And just to let everyone know, we disabled it because, you know, we don't know what anyone's going to say online. They could say some really nasty things, so we had to turn it off for the purposes of this video. But go ahead and explain what the 3D voice is about.
Yeah, so we have a 3D voiceover IP in the game where if you're talking on your mic, you know, the enemy could actually hear you if they're within range of you, and your nearby teammates could hear you. However, we also have a squad system, so the people in your squad, which is this button, I think, yeah. So I am right here. I think I'm...
Yeah, you're IGN spy guy.
Oh yeah, right here. So I'm in the scout cell. Everybody in my squad, if I talked on VoIP right now, they would hear me no matter where they are on the map. But if they're not in my squad, then they would only hear me if they're close to me. They wouldn't be on the radio. So we basically have the squad system that you know, incorporates teamwork into it. A lot of people, you know, if we didn't have the VoIP disabled right now, you would notice a lot of people are communicating in this game.
So you're actually hurting your team right now, probably.
You know, maybe not necessarily, you know, because you can also play this game in the way that, you know, you don't necessarily have to coordinate if you want, but you're not necessarily being useful.
Sure.
You know, but maybe if I run in and just like kill a bunch of people, it'll pave the way for my team to move up. Mm-hmm. So
since these other squads cannot hear you, does it sort of work out that there are little pockets of action that are each sort of doing their own thing? Because there's no bigger way to talk to everyone and coordinate. So it's like little firefights here and there, correct?
Sorry, I was just killing some people.
I totally understand.
I actually got some kills. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, so since like Squad A can't talk to Squad B, right?
Right.
So does that mean there are like little packets of combat on their own breaking out around the map because there's not a bigger overall communication?
Yeah, somewhat. You know, since we have the squad system and the communication is built into it, mm-hmm. It allows people to have that more personal experience if they want it. You know, you're not forced into a big group of communication. You can be in that closer knit, you know, 4-person team if you want.
Mm-hmm. So just like, could those guys hear you right now? How far they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I was, yeah, even if they're not in my squad, they would still hear me, no doubt.
Mm. That's neat. Is that affected by like just by proximity, or like if you're inside of a building and they're outside, could they not hear you because like there's a wall there? Or how does that work?
It's mostly by proximity. You know,
okay.
we hope to eventually make it a more realistic 3D VoIP. You know, with DSP effects and having like walls break up the volume and stuff like that. But you know, this is very much a game that, even though we're launching next year, hopefully earlier in the year, you know, we plan on continuing to update it and, you know, include DLC and whatnot in the price of the game.
Okay.
So, you know, we come from, I guess, the modding community. So we believe in a very iterative approach to game development, and even though it makes sense for us from, like, you know, business and financial standpoint to actually have a hard release on the game, we still see our releases as kind of a soft release where it's just like it's the launch of a platform that we intend to build upon and expand upon in the future.
Okay. And just for anyone that's interested, you mentioned price. Could you say what the full price will be and what you could pay right now to get into the early access?
Right now, the game costs $19.99 for early access. We are still we haven't 100% determined what the final price of the game is going to be yet.
Sure. Is there a sort of persistent leveling up that will carry over into the full game, or is it sort of like each match is its own thing, its own contained sort of setup?
Sorry, you're asking about persistent progression?
Yeah, like do you have an overall character level with unlocks?
Not in this version of the game,
Okay.
but that is our intent to add in a persistent progression system, which we haven't really revealed yet to people, so we don't really necessarily want to disclose that quite yet.
Yep, fair enough.
But we do intend on releasing a form of persistent progression that rewards players for playing over longer periods of time without necessarily it having a gameplay impact, because that's an important thing to us, is that we don't want this to turn into a Call of Duty type game where the better players that have been playing constantly get the better weapons and all that.
You're always playing catch up if you're new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we want to stand out in that sense by not following a similar path that for instance, the model that they use. But we do understand that, even including myself, everybody wants to feel like they have something to earn while they're playing,
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely have plans for that.
Great. If you wouldn't mind, I don't know what the abandoned rules are for this game, but if we could drop out into a different game type before we head into co-op, is that okay? Or does that kind of count as a loss?
Well, I would, but right now, since we're in early access, we've been kind of changing the game up on people a lot.
Okay.
There's been a lot of changes, going back and forth between gameplay concepts, getting feedback from the community. So in the process, we've kind of, our biggest goal has not necessarily been to manage a big player base. Our biggest concern right now is to get the game in a really good place, and that involves changing it a lot, getting a lot of feedback on the changes. And so in the process, right now, there's not a whole lot of people playing. This is probably the only fully active server right now.
Sure.
So we could technically start our own server on a different game mode, and I can show you guys that. But it won't be very populated.
So let's just talk about a few of the other more notable game modes then while we play this.
Sure, yeah. So Skirmish, I think that's the really original mode that we have. It's like a 5-point capture, a little bit like Dave Defeat, except the closest capture points to each team's spawn are supply caches, are weapons caches, and your team can actually resupply there. And if you destroy your enemy's weapons cache, then it has an effect on their reinforcements. The way that the mode works is when you capture points, you actually gain reinforcements. But when you destroy your enemy's weapons cache, they can no longer gain reinforcements when they capture points. So their supply usually trickles down and dwindling and usually depletes to 0 pretty quickly. And once your team runs out of waves, which you can see on the bottom of the screen right now, you can actually still get back in the game if your team captures a point.
Okay. So you're not totally out if you lose it.
So you're not totally out of it. You can be the last guy left on your team with no waves left on your team. Everybody's spectating, watching you, and you and you still have the potential to bring your team back. We call that a hero cap in our game. There's definitely a sense in this game that you could be the hero for your team. That's sort of a theme that we've seen reoccurring throughout development.
Kill streak of 11.
Yeah, I'm not playing too good. It's tough playing on a new rig with a new mouse.
Call you out.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be like, "Who's this crappy player?
This guy made the game."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess if I was at the office on my own rig, it might be a little different. But
on live streams, we're always terrible, and no one understands that it's difficult to play and talk at the same time.
Yeah, that too. Well, at least I got a couple of kills there. You know, I didn't go the whole time without getting any. So right now, you can see on the bottom we have 0 waves left, and our team's out of reinforcement waves. So it's up to these remaining guys right now to secure C in order to win the map, because it's the last objective, so we won't respawn. It would just win the map if they capture it.
And you can spectate all of them. Can you spectate in first person?
We can. There's some bugs in the first person, but yeah, you can spectate.
Oh no!
It looks like there's this one guy.
This isn't going
left.
so well.
It's over. Yeah. So I'm actually going to switch out now, I think, to co-op.
Sure. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do another video with the co-op mode. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, we'll just embed it into the same article with the video that this is in, so you don't have to go searching for it. But go ahead and check it out with us, and thanks a lot for showing off multiplayer, and we'll be right back.